play. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums.
All right, we're back for another episode of the Blitz the Bookie podcast. I'm Charlie Winkle here with Anthony Roberts. It is Monday, June the 9th. A lot of sports going on this past weekend. Sovereignty beats journalism again and wins the Belmont. NBA Finals tied 1-1, but this was a big baseball weekend. Of course, we're right in the heart of the Major League Baseball season, about a month away from the All-Star break. But this weekend was about the college super regionals. We've already had 7 teams punch their ticket to Omaha. We're waiting on one more, and that game is going on as we speak. Murray State is trying to beat the dirty, dirty Duke Blue Devils and become one of the biggest underdog stories in the history of the College World Series. I got it on right here. We're going to keep an eye on it, and I know I'll be cheering for Murray State.
No doubt.
But the highlight of the weekend, Anthony, the Blitz boys, the 12U Louisville Blitz. If you don't know about them, check them out. Finished 4-1 this weekend and runners up in the Kentucky State tournament. Long, fun weekend of baseball. We'll get into everything. But before we do, Anthony, how you feeling today?
Feeling great, man. Long weekend.
Long weekend. Drug out from Thursday to Sunday.
We do these tournaments, and it seems like things never stop. So, I love it. Wouldn't have it no other way. But when the season is over, I'm almost like a Major League Baseball player, NFL player. I'll be ready to have some me time. So we got a few more weeks. We finish up with the big tournament at Diamond Kings, and then we go to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So
2 weeks from today, we'll be starting pool play.
Yep.
Monday through Friday tournament, actually. We usually play Saturday, Sundays, or maybe Friday, Saturday, Sundays. This state tournament was Thursday through Sunday, but Myrtle Beach, Monday through Friday.
It is. For me and Charlie, our weekends, baseball in the summertime takes up a lot of our weekends. So we try to keep up with the sports, and we do. But there's just not as much sports in the summer. Would you agree with that, Charlie?
Yeah, in the summertime for sure. I mean, right now you just finishing, you got the NBA Finals finishing up. But once that's over, it's pretty much just baseball.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right now there's still a little bit left. You got
hockey.
Racing,
you got hockey going on, the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals, horse racing. But yeah, once the NBA and the NHL Finals are over, it's all baseball.
It is, and you really got to be a true baseball guy to be able to watch the season. Nothing to matter with baseball. I enjoy the playoffs a lot. Enjoy the heck out of the playoffs, but the regular MLB season, it's not as popular as the NFL season. It's just not. But did you see the ratings for the NBA championship playoff game?
No.
They were way, way down. This is like a so many year low for the first 2 playoff games. The ratings were. So NBA got problems.
You've got 2 small markets. I mean, Indy's not a big market, right?
Right.
Indy and OKC, they set themselves up for low ratings with that one.
They did.
Everybody wants to say the NBA's rigged. Why are we sitting here with OKC and Indy?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So people, you can argue that it's rigged when the Lakers make it, or these big teams, or the Stars make it, or they're rigging it for Curry, or they're rigging it for LeBron. But we're sitting here with 2 really small market teams, and like you said, ratings are down. So
I'll say this: maybe they rig it coming up if ratings continue to stay down. But when things are good, they don't have no reason to rig it. I don't think the league does. Now, players want to cheat and bet games, maybe that. But when the ratings are up and everybody's making money, there's no reason to cheat. That's why I tell people about the racetrack. When people are casinos, the casinos don't need to cheat. The system's in their favor. If things maybe drop, could you see, Charlie, an NBA maybe not cheating directly, but maybe little things to try to help certain teams get there? Because maybe ratings are down. I don't know. It's just something to think about.
They do. I guarantee you they do it. Yeah. They do it with the reffing. They probably are figuring out ways right now to change the game for next year.
Do you think that Dallas?
And they're probably trying to get it in their favor to get some better teams, or maybe not even the better teams, but the stars. They need their stars in there.
I've heard a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that I agree with it. But I've heard a lot of stuff about, Dallas getting the Cooper Flag pick, that number 1 pick after Luka had went to L.A. Was that a deal made behind the scenes to get Luka to L.A.? And who knows?
Well, in 2025, everybody thinks everything that happens, no matter what, sports, politics,
is rigged.
Life, everything's rigged. There is conspiracy theory for literally every single thing that happens.
I agree with
these
that.
days.
I agree with that.
So it's kind of crazy.
It is. And
everybody questions everything. Nothing can be real. So everything's set up. Somebody's always cheating. Somebody's always faking something.
Mm-hmm.
This video's fake. That's fake.
Well, I think some of it is we've come to find out some things were fake back in the day, and now we're thinking everything is. I hate that.
Oh, is that where we're going with this episode?
I don't know.
Is that where we're going? Was the moon landing real?
Yeah.
Is that where we're going?
Yeah.
9/11, was it real?
Yeah.
We could go down some rabbit holes.
But
we need a summer episode idea. That's it.
The thing about it is that I hate it when people just think everything's fake, because I do think there's things you could question, but when you start saying that everything's fake, then you kind of lose credibility. We've talked about it on another subject matter, but there's some things that I think are questionable, and then there's some things that's kind of outlandish.
Did Katy Perry really go to space?
I don't know.
No.
I don't even know nothing about the subject.
No. You don't remember?
No.
About 3 or 4 weeks ago, they sent like 7 women to apparently to space for like 16 minutes or something, and Katy Perry was one of them.
I'd heard about it.
Yeah, well, read up. They say it was a complete hoax, and they did it in Hollywood. And I tend to believe it.
I'll tell you what I did hear, just off the subject matter. I heard a guy, might have been in the 70s, took a bunch of helium balloons, tied them to a chair, went up in the air enough to lift him. He miscalculated. He ended up going a lot higher than what he was supposed to go.
Like little party balloons?
He did, but no, I think these were real helium balloons, But he did take a pellet gun with him, so he was able to shoot his way down and descend. And they say the guy ended up coming down. But they say they were up there, and airplanes start radioing in saying,
he's in a chair with party balloons.
No, I don't think party balloons, like
couple hundred party balloons,
no,
pink and blue, pink and yellow.
Maybe more professional balloons.
Which I've never heard that story.
Yeah, he took a pellet gun with him so he could slowly descend.
So he just shot one at a time, kind of started descending.
I would hate to see his pellet gun jam up.
I want to see what kind of chair he was sitting in. It's a kitchen chair? Just
I've read about it.
Recliner?
I don't know.
I need video.
I hear you. Me too.
That's good. All right, Belmont. I called it last week, Anthony. Same exact finish as the Derby, and it was Sovereignty, Journalism, Baeza. Sovereignty looked much the best.
He did. Look, Journalism's a very nice horse, but I'm telling you, Journalism might have won the Triple Crown any other year. That shows you really can't put everything into winning the Triple Crown, because it's how much competition do you have those years? Everybody says Sham would have won it if Secretary didn't win it. Some of the all-time greats might not even be talked about, because Journalism would have won. He got second in the Derby, won the Preakness, and got second in the Belmont. If it wasn't for Sovereignty, and Sovereignty probably would have won it if he ran in the Preakness. No guarantee, but I'm going to tell you, I watched that replay a few times now, and Journalism ran winning races. He really did. Nice horse. But I'm telling you, Sovereignty has another gear, because Journalism took off down the stretch, and he was looking good. You watch their legs, you can kind of tell when they're getting tired. And he was moving good.
Journalism had a perfect trip, too.
He did.
I mean,
I thought Sovereignty had a pretty good trip, too. He sat on the inside. I know he got
a little behind 4 or 5 of them horses right before the top of the stretch.
Journalism did stumble out the gate, though.
You're right about that. Besides, I forgot about that, because he did stumble. That was impressive.
He's a very athletic horse, so I told you that when he hit that other horse. He's really light on his feet. But
I feel like the rest of his trip was about as good as it gets for Journalism. And sitting at the top of the stretch, man, I was like, oh, shit, Journalism is looking good, but Sovereignty came rolling.
Watch his legs, Sovereignty's legs. Dude, he's picking them up, and I mean, I know it sounds, I'm not a horse racing trainer, but man, the legs were he was picking them up high in the air, and he was just digging in. The announcer was hot mic'd afterwards. He didn't realize it. And he even made the comment, I got 20,000 messages at hot mic. And you could tell it wasn't fake. Like some of the TV places do hot mic on purpose afterwards, because he kind of made a dirty comment. Not dirty, but he said, man, he just ran him over like he was sitting still, talking about journalism. And he said, I picked him up before he even got past him. He said, I seen his nostrils flaring. He was talking to somebody. So I went back to watch that after I heard that. And you could see his nostrils up. You could tell that he was moving well, and he was just eating up ground the way his legs were moving. I'm no horse racing trainer, but just go back and look, and you'll see what I'm saying. So no doubt he's the best 3-year-old. I think the only horse you could argue, there was a horse that beat him in the Florida Derby that ended up getting hurt before the Derby, Tapan Street. But at the same time, that was at Gulfstream, which is hard to close. And he was able to close, and Tapan Street was like middle of the pack. So I like to see Tapan Street before I say he's hands down the best 3-year-old. But right now, out of what we've seen over the last month, he's the best 3-year-old in the country.
Yeah, he is. And it's a shame that he didn't run in the Preakness. But me and you talked about this the other night. No guarantee. I know it looks good right now, and you want to say, oh, he would have won the Triple Crown, and maybe he would have, because it surely seems like it after that Belmont win. But does the 3 races in, 5 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Did that take something out of journalism? Not only did journalism race 3 times in 5 weeks, but journalism had a lot of issues there in that Preakness. That wasn't just a gimme win. He had to work for that win, and maybe the rest that Sovereignty got helped him perform like he did in the Belmont.
No doubt.
So maybe if he runs in the Preakness, wins the Preakness, then maybe he comes back and is not as strong in the Belmont. So you could look at it a lot of different ways.
You could even look at it that maybe those 2 tracks benefited Sovereignty. I'm not saying they did. I don't know if they did at all. But horses do run different on different tracks. For people that don't follow horse racing, I really don't have an answer why. It's not even just about speed or closing tracks, but some horses love certain tracks. We go to the racetrack. You see it from time to time. You'll see a horse that not even been running that good, but he loves Churchill. Been maybe running 4th and 5th, and he comes into a race, but maybe he's 4 for 4 at Churchill. But he's been running with the same class of horse and been getting 4th or 5th. But he comes back to Churchill and he wins. We've seen that before.
Oh, yeah, it happens all the time.
What is it about that? I mean, is it the surface? They like the surface. That's got to be a part of it.
I'm sure,
Probably most of
yeah.
it. But, man, sometimes it's like overwhelming how much it makes them better, or it makes a horse. There's some horses that can't run good on certain tracks. Saratoga is known to be the graveyard of champions, the graveyard of favorites, because it's such a funny playing track. I was listening to a thing this weekend on it. But out of what I've seen, Sovereignty's the best. You had the Met Mile. Fierceness got beat, got second. I kind of talked about that a little bit. I take nothing away from Fierceness. They still got second, beat White Barrio. That Raging Torrent that beat him was a really good miler. You don't
8-1 was good odds on that horse. That was the one I was thinking about betting, but I was scared to jump off Fierceness.
You don't go in somebody else's division. You just
the
like
1 mile
division.
thing.
You can get sprinters, like you can get.
But White Barrio wasn't built for a mile either.
No,
so why is either one of those horses in that race? The winner of that was automatically in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
But they're not even going for the.
That's
Breeders'
what
Cup
I'm saying.
Mile.
So why are they even in that race?
So for Rapoli, I do know this. For Rapoli and Fierceness, he's a New York guy. Met Miles, a big thing on his list. I know he almost won it. He was a nose away, went in with Uncle Mo. Caleb's posse got him there. Maybe that's a bucket list thing. Met Miles, a very prestigious race.
So he's just trying to be like the Roy Jones Jr. of horse racing, just trying to win in a bunch of different divisions or whatever you want to call it.
I think Rapoli, look, my hat goes off to him. Like him or not, he brought Fierceness back. He was worth a lot of money in the breeding shed. Brought him back, is taking on all comers. I mean, he raced there at Churchill. He comes back. He goes to Met Mile. There's definitely like vulnerability there, being that it's just a mile race. I like that, though. I like, he's talked about it even before this year, that he wants the best to race the best. And I'll be honest with you. I follow horse racing a lot of years. There's a lot of people that run from the big matchups. I'm talking about trainers and owners. They try to dodge certain horses. We see that in travel ball. Certain teams, call them trophy hunters. They try to dodge. They try to cherry pick their schedule. Same thing with the horse racing. They cherry pick. Some of them do cherry pick their schedule. And I feel like Rapoli has talked about it, and I think he's backing it up. that he wants to race the best. He's even talked about the best of Europe facing the best of America more often. And I just like it. He has talked about, Rapoli has, that horse racing needs to have more big events, more big matchups. Match races, they were real big back in the day. One horse versus one horse. Maybe if journalism was to win the Midsummer Derby, the Travers or something, beat Sovereignty, maybe they could have a match race. Just some fun, new energy in horse racing would be awesome.
Match races are crazy.
They are, but I think it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool
because there's no pace. There's no.
That's the weird part.
But some horses got to have that pace. What about me versus you? Who wins?
Yeah, I mean it's a cool concept, and I wouldn't even mind seeing it. I really like this journalism sovereignty. Duel we got going on.
Your horse racing buddy, Brandon. There. Yeah, he talked to me one time about the reason they don't do match races no more because they say you get two horses that really are big competitors and they'll hurt themselves trying to beat each other just because it's one versus one. So I don't know how much truth there is to that.
Yeah,
that makes sense a little bit.
Yeah, maybe they do go a little harder if it's just one-on-one like that. So what do you think? I mean, you think Travers for Sovereignty? Or just straight to the Breeders' Cup, or what? I mean,
they're baby.
You got to do.
Listen, I love him. He's
awesome.
The
Travers isn't until what? August?
Yeah, Midsummer Derby.
Yeah, it's like late August, I think.
I'll say this: you got the 2 big 3-year-old races in the summer. You get a little break here, and then you get into the Haskell, which that's Mama's big 3-year-old race. But Travers, in my opinion, is the second best 3-year-old race behind the Derby. Now, if somebody's going for the Triple Crown, I'd say the Belmont. But overall, the Travers, a lot of people, they like it a lot because they say it gives every horse time to develop and get to where they are. And it's getting closer to Breeders' Cup time. But this is what I'll say, Charlie. Looking forward to Breeders' Cup in November with all the older horses and all the good 3-year-olds. Woo! The Breeders' Cup Classic could be a special race.
The only probables that I'm seeing right now for the Travers are Sovereignty, Journalism, Sandman, and Magnitude.
Well, I think a lot of things probably will change between now and then. That's a pretty good ways out to commit to something.
Yeah, that's just probables. They're just looking ahead.
Who do they got there, Charlie? It's
Sovereignty and Journalism, Sandman, and Magnitude. I don't know. Magnitude was first in the Risen Star, and
I want to see Matt Grande, which he ain't as big as of a looking forward to for a lot of people because got to see more. But he's out of Curlin Lake Developer. But I want to see at Tapan Street. That's the one I want to see. He's the one that beat Sovereignty in the Florida Derby right before the Derby. Very highly regarded bred horse, Brad Cox horse. The announcer made the comment in the Florida Derby. He said the shortest road to Louisville is on Tapan Street.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I don't know why, but I've watched that race probably 15 times, and I guess it was a good call, but I've seen it so many times that I feel like it's kind of weird.
But he's a good horse. He's only lost one race. He lost the Holy Bull race, and he had got better, and I think he had a little bit of a rough trip. He lost at Burnham Square in the Holy Bull, but it was still a really, really good race, a tight race. And they both ran big numbers in that race.
Well, you heard Breeders' Cup back at Keeneland.
That's awesome.
2026.
That's awesome. I'll tell you what, me and Charlie had the pleasure of going.
They just announced that the other day.
We got to see Flightline, which might be the best horse in my generation. I'll say this. I like the way Keeneland did it. I don't know why they do it that way. When people heard the Breeders' Cup was coming to Keeneland, everybody said, well, Keeneland's too small. They're not going to be able to bring in that many people. They only let in so many people, and they keep it really nice for the viewer. I'm surprised they don't.
I'll be back next year.
Oh, I will too. That's a hidden gem. Not a hidden gem, but it don't cost a lot to go, and you get to see some of the best horses in America. You get to go right up to the rail and do it.
Yeah, that was. What was that? 20.
It was an awesome year. We got
Flightline and Life is Good.
Yep, all the female race, probably the best distaff ever.
That was great. Hopefully everything stays the same with the experience for next year, because you're right. They limited the seats, which was the best part about it, because it was not shoulder to shoulder like you would think.
It wasn't even busy at all.
It wasn't. I forgot what the number they put on it was, but man, there was plenty of room.
They probably need to let
betting
more
lines weren't long.
It was nice.
We could, like you said, you could almost walk right up to the rail every race, if not to the rail, just maybe a couple rows back, but you're right there. I mean, just right there. It's a bunch of standing room only, like right in that area. It's just an open spot with a couple benches and tables, but
if you've ever
not
been
packed like you would think Breeders' Cup would be. If it would have been at Churchill, dude, it'd have been shoulder to shoulder. They'd have let freaking 1 million people in there. As many people as wanted to come, just come on in.
I think you should, but I love it the way they do
well,
it.
I don't know that Keeneland can do that.
Yeah. Bluegrass Day's packed out always. If you've ever been to Bluegrass Day, it's packed out.
I have. We went once, didn't we?
I'm not
Didn't we
sure.
go?
I don't think it was Bluegrass Day.
Was that not the day that we went and we weren't going to get in and the guy gave us tickets?
I don't think it was Bluegrass.
No.
That was the Kentucky opening day, maybe Kentucky football, Keeneland double. But I'll tell you this, Bluegrass Day's packed out. It's shoulder to shoulder in that place. It was nothing like that on Breeders' Cup Day.
Hopefully they keep it the same.
I agree. I liked it.
And I don't remember what we paid, but it
Wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot. I'll be back at Keeneland. I think we talked about it probably as soon as we was leaving. Like, man, this was awesome, and if it ever comes back to Keeneland, we'll be here. I know I will.
That was a special experience as a horse racing fan. Not being crowded up front, got to see some really high level horses, good races, and being right there. That was awesome.
Yep. So Sovereignty, we both agree.
Yep.
The best 2-year-old right now.
No
and
doubt.
We'll see what happens here in the Travers, because I'm sure Sovereignty will be headed to the Travers.
The big, just quick note, the big race at Churchill wasn't big as the Belmont, but it was a good 3-year-old race. A lot of
many
good
scratches.
It was, but they ended up having 4 or 5 horses. East Avenue won. Cold Battle ran a good race, but second was Burnham Square, I think, was second, and then Cold Battle. They all three were kind of right there. It looked like he might have had a chance to win the stretch. East Avenue had too much left on the front end. I've always kind of liked East Avenue, so I was happy for him, but there was only like 4 or 5 horses. The horse that finished 4th in the Derby, I think he finished like 4th there. But a horse like that needs pace. I would also like to see that horse on turf. He's bred more for turf. I would like to see him on turf. They have those big finishes in the turf races.
Yeah, I was looking forward to Burnham Square coming back, but was not excited about that race after the scratches. I think there was 8 or 9 listed for the race. Ended up 3 or 4 scratch. What was it, 5 that raced? Yeah,
but they were 5 good ones.
It was 5 good ones, but the odds weren't great really. On I think they were all
Cold Battle was
5-2, 7-2.
Cold Battle was 6-1.
Was he?
And he looked like he was going to win it in the stretch at one point. But.
Yeah, so I was looking forward to seeing Burnham Square come back, but I'm glad I didn't bet him because
he ran
if
a
I'd
good
got
race.
Better odds on him, I probably would have bet him in that race. But I lost interest really after all the scratches. Even though none of the really good. Well, the only
they all 4 or 5 were really good horses. They
one Gaming scratched.
Yeah, I did.
Gaming scratched. I was looking forward to seeing him too. He's a good horse.
They've had health issues with that horse because that horse was highly thought after. He almost beat Journalism in the Santa Anita Derby, I think it was, or one of those races, and he was a favorite in that race, like 2-5. That horse is highly regarded, but they're having health issues with him, I think.
All right, so NBA Finals or
let's go
the breaking news.
We can let's touch NBA Finals because it's not it's not a whole lot. One game.
Well, they played last night. Game 2 was not very entertaining. I watched a little bit in the middle, a little bit of the second quarter, and a little bit of the third quarter, but it was not very interesting. I did watch most of the second half of Game 1. That was a good game. Halliburton, since they have called him overrated, my man is killing.
He's good.
Knocks down a game winner with 0.3 seconds left.
OKC choked in that game.
They did.
They had a good lead late in the game. It was pretty bad, the lead they gave up.
So I get a text earlier in the day before the game even started of my buddy's bet. I think he put up like $25. It was on Halliburton to hit a game winner with 0 on the clock.
Oh my Jesus! What kind of odds did
it was?
It was
25 to win like $600.
And you know what? That's low odds for that. But guess what? He won it, didn't he?
No. There was 0.3 seconds left, and they had to inbound the ball.
That's only 24-1.
It specifically says with no time for an inbound. And he hit it with 0.3 seconds left.
That
sucks, don't it?
That is. That would have been that was an awesome pick by him, by the way. But that's short odds for that. 24-1. I need like 70-1 on that. Dude, that's hard to do. Like, call her to call that. Like 0 seconds, no time left.
Yeah, but the bet said no time left for an inbound.
Yeah.
And man, when that shot went up in the air, I was thinking he's about to win this bet.
I hate
and
that for him.
Bang, and then I look and there's 0.3 left. Of course, he started texting like, motherfucker.
Set up. That shit was set up.
But yeah, it was a good pick. And he still got a chance at it. He still technically does have a chance. But yeah, the Pacers get it done in OKC in game 1. That was a big win for them.
So is that any game?
Any game in the series.
Okay, that odds make more sense.
No,
I was thinking it was one game.
No.
Okay,
That was for the whole series.
Okay, that makes a lot more. I thought, man, that's not a good bet. For that,
For the whole series.
Yes, okay. That's not a bad bet.
No.
I was thinking that was one game. I think 24-1.
No, not for one game.
Yeah.
It's for the whole series. So he's got 5 more chances.
Yeah, that's not a bad bet.
He might only get, it's 1-1, so he's at least going to get 3 more chances.
That's right.
We'll see what happens. I tend to think that OKC is a much better team, but man, I think Indiana's going to make this a little bit of a fight. I don't know if it's going to go 7, but I do see Indiana squeaking out another game here somewhere. They're about to go back to Indy for 2 games. All they got to do is get 1, and they're sitting at 2-2 going back to OKC for game 5. So
I'm gonna say OKC wins the rest of the games, but I do think Indy's tough. It's not that I don't think they're tough. I actually kind of like them. Not like them. I had the feeling in the first game, but I just think OKC's really good.
They are, and they'll probably win the series. But I see Indiana as just being scrappy, and I think they win 1 more game. I'm going to say it goes 6.
If Indy wins it, I'd be happy. It's not like I'm pulling for OKC. I just think they're really good.
Orbzoot would be happy.
Yeah.
Oh, woo.
He was still rocking the Pacers.
I seen a little video on somewhere on social media of Reggie Miller. It was a home video of his family going crazy when the Halliburton hit the game winner. It was kind of cool.
Them guys get to live awesome lives.
Oh, hell yeah.
You hit the game winner. You're a millionaire. You've never really had to work a day in your life. A lot because you're athletic. Life's good for. I don't ever want to hear those guys complain. I mean, I know they have problems, but they have nowhere near the problems. They have problems. I'm not saying that. I know they're people like anybody else. I'm not taking nothing away from them. But, man, they've been blessed.
I'd love to have that bank account.
Just the bank account, the notoriety, the being famous.
They've never had that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Charlie.
But, man, could you just imagine opening your little Chase app and just seeing, like, $203 million or something. I mean, they said John Wall made like $250 million in his career. Dude.
Talking about that, I seen a thing where Carr walked away from $30 million from the Saints because he had a surgery and he wasn't going to be able to play, but he was guaranteed money. All he had to do was pretty much set the bench and take his $30 million. And he said he didn't want to do it because he didn't play for it. That dude's a better dude than me.
Well, he retired, didn't he?
Yeah, but but everybody was saying, dude, sit there and make your $30 million. He probably could have negotiated his way out of it. He's a better man than me. I
heard that he retired. I didn't hear that.
These guys are sucking every dollar they can out of people. It's guaranteed money, so that was part of the negotiations. I'm taking my money, dude. I'm taking my money because it's an NFL team, and I know they would do me the other way. But he said he didn't want to do it because it would hurt the team, and that's money they can spend on somebody else. I'm thinking, I think I'd hang out for a year, $30 million, or I'd at least go to the negotiation table and say, hey, we can do this way, or maybe I'll take 10 or 15 and just say, see you later.
That's surprising if he gave up that much money.
No,
man.
I did. I read it. I read the whole article.
That's wild.
Everybody was talking about how wild that was.
But I'm wondering how much money he's.
I don't care, Charlie. That's why I would never retire.
It's still a lot, but think about how much money he's got when he opens his little Chase app.
But think about how many generations just 30 million could change of your great-great-grandkids. That's why they would have to run me out of the NFL or run me out of the NBA. I'd be old as hell. If I was a legend like Jordan or Brett Favre or somebody, I'd be there with gray hair. And somebody signed me for $3 million just to ride the plane and play sports.
He said, I'm riding as long as I can.
Why wouldn't you?
Just give me a clipboard. I ain't even clipboard no more. Give me an iPad and give me a ball cap, and I'll be the backup coach.
Dolly Parton, country music star, she said it best. When she was getting started, everybody said, well, Dolly, do you spend a lot of money on your dresses? These people spend $1,000. She said, I never could. She said, every time I think about spending $5,000 on a dress or this or that, she said, well, I think about my nieces or nephews and think they could pay for braces for their mouth. Or that's where my mind would go. If I could make $30 million next year, I could give that to my family. Even if I don't want it, they would love to have $30 million, my cousins or whatever. Why can't I do that for them since life's been so good to me? I don't know.
No, I get it. I don't know, see how anybody turns down $30 million, but
good for him.
I'm sure he's got a hefty bank account. I'm sure him and his kids and his grandkids and his cousins are probably set pretty good.
He's invested his money well. Would you agree with that? Almost had, because you wouldn't do that if you weren't invested well. If you were even halfway not happy with the amount of money you had for the money you made, you play that out, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so. He sucked at football anyway, so hopefully he was good at investing money.
They said he was a great guy, a great teammate. That's what they said.
That's cool. Not very good at football, but... All right, the breaking news, Anthony, today, just a couple hours ago. Vince Marrow, longtime Kentucky recruiter, probably the most heralded, most popular assistant coach we've ever had, I would argue to say. And I think one of the most sought-after assistant coaches over the last probably 4 or 5 years. Stoops' buddy leaves us to go to the Dirty Birds. I hope he's on Patino's level with you right now.
Who'd you say his name was?
I hope he's on Patino's level with you. I hope you're not.
Vince what?
I hope you're not about to have his back right here, Anthony.
No way.
Oh.
You're talking about the guy that couldn't coach. You said assistant coach. That's why I wasn't picking up because he don't coach.
No,
he don't coach. All
They
he did
said
was
he was a tight end coach.
Dude, I go to UK games. He don't coach.
No, he's a recruiter.
He's dead to me. Flat out, bottom line. And I'm trying to look on the positive side of it. I would argue to say, man, he was very highly paid as a recruiter. And I think there was a time for UK football where I didn't think we could live without him. And that's how much I thought of him at one time. And I'm going to argue to say, I don't think it's that big a loss right now. In today's climate, I don't think you recruit that much. I think you buy players, essentially. And for the money we were paying him for what his job title does now, I'm not sure that's worth $1 million in today's world, not yesterday's world. Now, I'm trying to look on the positive side of it, but I do think that's a solid argument. But he's dead to me.
Well, you know where I stand on the whole everything's about money and recruiting doesn't mean anything. And we could get into that argument.
Right.
We could get into it, but I'm not doing it. You know why? Because I ain't got his back right now.
I got you.
I do think recruiting is still a thing. I think, maybe it's not all about the money to some of the kids, but I'm not getting into that shit right now because I'm with you. He is dead to me. Vince Marrow has been Mark Stoops' buddy, and he's hyped us up over the years. He's got on local radio shows and hyped us up year after year about the recruits that he gets. And don't get me wrong, I do think that he has got us some good recruits over the years.
Oh, he has in yesterday's world. I always heard he was the bag man. Before NIL.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was because NILs didn't just start them getting paid. They were getting paid before that. And you're probably right. He was the bag man. But I do think there was a lot of positives to Vince Marrow, but I don't want to talk about any of those right now because he went to the only team that he shouldn't have went to. There's only one team.
I agree.
You do not go to Louisville. Patino at least took a stop somewhere else. He goes straight to Louisville, and I think it's a little bit of a knife in the back that it happens in June. Shouldn't that have happened?
They knew about it, though, because I'd heard that he hadn't had no recruiting visits planned for June. They knew about it.
Shouldn't that have happened before, spring practice, though?
Do you know?
Why are we in June?
Let me ask you this, and I don't know this. I do not know it. I haven't read it. But do we know what was his contract going to be up? I'm just thinking, do we think maybe there was any chance that Kentucky just said, what you do, that he was not a coach. He just was. Everybody agrees with that. That follows Kentucky football. But what he did was very valuable once upon a time. And I think the general manager That person now is more important. Will he be good at that job? I don't know. Back then, maybe he might have been the only guy that was paying. I do think, and this is nothing against him, Charlie, I do think he had not been as effective the last couple of years as he was there for a while. And that's me just being honest. His height thing, I think it was awesome at first, but I think it was starting to kind of run dry too. He was a big talker and a big.
It's been a while. Stoops, he's been here the whole time, right? Or
Yes.
And Stoops is the longest tenured coach in the SEC, or second longest maybe. He's been here for, 15 years now?
Yep.
I do think it was running its course, and those first handful of years, everybody knew about Vince Marrow. He was the right-hand man to Mark Stoops, and he was the guy that was getting all these players. And look, I do still think there is something to the recruiting, even with the NIL. So I think Vince was still valuable to us, and I think he's going to be valuable to Louisville. But I don't like how it went down. I think it's late for it to be happening. The season starts in, 2 months maybe? That's too late. And I absolutely don't think it was a situation where Kentucky was like, we're not going to pay you. You're not worth this. I think he made a decision to get out of a situation a year ahead of time that he already kind of knew was about to happen.
If Stoops stays or goes, it'll depend. Look, this isn't making a break it season. I'll say
it's
that.
over.
It ain't over.
Yeah,
it ain't over. No.
Yeah, it is. It's falling apart. There ain't no reason he should have left like that.
I'm not saying.
I just think that's a sign.
I'm not saying that. Well, he has 1 year left. I get what if he would leave because he got 1 year, and maybe Stoops could probably's got enough money to retire. A, or B, he could find another job with his name. A guy like Morrow, especially because his value is not as much as what it was in the way college football was set up. For him, probably, I would even say it. Yeah, I know I'm a huge Stoops fan, but I would say there's a 50-50 chance whether he's back after this year. It's a make it or break it year. There's no doubt about
20% chance he's back after this year. Matter of fact, it
If he
might
has
be
a
like 10% chance he's back.
It's just going to come down if they got a good team or not. If he has a successful season, he's here.
They have been pumping our team up in the media year after year, right around this time.
Maybe
we've heard nothing, and it probably had a lot to do with what just happened today. You mentioned that he hadn't had any visits set up from Ohio kids.
Yeah,
Is that what it was?
June, in the month of June. Yeah,
I think it's all. Vince Marrow's not stupid. Okay, I think the writing is on the wall that Stoops is pretty much like you just said. This is a make or break year.
There is. So you got
it just is. The fans are pretty much, a lot of the fans are checked out.
Well, you got a 50-50 chance of him having a good year. Maybe if it's a little lower, you think whatever you think the odds are.
Got a tough schedule, and I think our roster is not as good as it has been in the last 3 to 4 years.
I don't think that's fair to say. With the way he did it this year, he just went to a lot of these smaller universities. We plugged a lot of holes that we had needs.
We'll see.
And I'm not saying they're good.
I hope I'm wrong.
And I'm not saying they're good either. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. It reminds me of a lot of what Indiana did. Stoops is always trying to make changes. I've noticed that about him. And he kind of did the same thing what Indiana did. Instead of paying all the money in these big players, I've talked about this before, that he's paying a bunch of just solid players money and trying to spread his money across the board. That way he's balanced everywhere, and he's trying to change the culture. One thing that definitely hurt Stoops is they were really good. Everybody agrees with this at player development. Stoops and his coaching staff, that was a big thing with them. They're good at player development. NIL's hurt that because nobody sticks around now. But I do think Stoops is always trying to make changes, and I think he's seen what Signetti did up in Indiana. Maybe he said, I'm tired of having my money tied up in a handful of superstars, a.k.a. Barryon Brown, Deion Walker, Vandergriff. That was probably a big part of their budget. And now this year, I felt like he spread the money across the board. So it's just a new way to do it. It's his last chance, I would say. I think everybody agrees with that.
100% it's his last chance.
I agree.
And the schedule is tough. My opinion, and I'm really just going off of just not hearing anything from anybody in the Kentucky football world over the past 6 months.
Might be a good thing. Maybe they're taking a different approach.
Well, they got to, because they've hyped us up for every year, and then we are disappointed.
But I've heard so many things that Barryon Brown, Dane Key were cancers of the team, and it was all hype. And I'd heard Stoops say, he really got back. I heard he made some comments, kind of like talk is cheap comments, and need to get back to focusing. Stoops might have caught himself getting too caught into the social media world and being worried about what everybody thinks. And maybe he's like, this is my last year if I don't do good. I need to get back to the basics, need to focus on culture, and need to focus on team. That's my way I'm looking at it.
I hope you got a roster to go with all that. I'm with all that.
They spent money. They spent money.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think the roster's going to be a little mediocre, and I'm looking at the schedule right here, Anthony.
They spent the same amount of money this year, I think, as they did last year, if not close.
Let's go through the schedule.
Oh,
Just say win or loss. First game at home against Toledo, who Toledo has picked to win that conference.
I'm going to say win. I get it. I get what you're saying about Toledo.
Home against Ole Miss.
Who's Ole Miss got coming back this year?
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, but I don't mean that. I mean, I don't know. I have a question mark.
Lane Kiffin coming off of Kentucky, beat them and probably knocked them out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
you remember that, right?
Yeah, but
they were like the first team out of the playoffs.
And they might be really good. I don't know what they got coming back this year. Things change so much.
Ole Miss at Kentucky, win or loss?
It's hard
Game
for me to
2.
It's hard for me to say. I just don't know. I give you opinion if I kind of looked into Ole Miss a little bit.
I'll say it. Loss.
Okay.
Kentucky at home against Eastern Michigan.
Win.
At South Carolina.
I think they have a chance to win at the South Carolina or the Ole Miss.
Maybe.
Okay.
At Georgia. Trouble.
That's trouble.
Very next week. Actually, we do get a bye, and then we come home against Texas.
Everybody says they're the favorite to win.
We get beat by 50.
Yeah.
Then the very next week, Tennessee comes to town.
I don't think they're unbeatable. I don't know what they got.
Then we go to Auburn. Then Florida comes to us.
Okay. It's tough schedule.
Then we get a Tennessee Tech. Then we're at Vanderbilt, which we always struggle against, and at Louisville. Dude, you're stretching.
The middle of it's tough, but
you're stretching to get. All right, you get Toledo.
But people are going to take that and consider. Like, if you play those
I don't
teams
even think Toledo might not even be. I
know, but people are going to take that. They're not just going to look at if there's a good vibe and energy's good and we're winning games. It's going to all come down to, did we consider this a successful season? Are we moving in the right direction? Are we moving in the wrong direction?
People ain't looking at that, dude.
I think they do if games are closer and you have a better than start record. Like if
we win 4 or 5 games.
No, he's gone. If he wins 6 and makes it to a bowl.
Oh, if we win 6, yeah, he shouldn't go nowhere. I think this schedule's tough. What if we come out in game 1 and lose to Toledo?
But what about if we?
That?
It'd be a tough situation for him.
Fans would be.
Yeah, but that don't make your season.
Fans would be out.
They'll come back if you win.
Yeah, but are they going to come back next week at home against Ole Miss and fill the stands after we just lose a game 1 against Toledo?
They might. That'd
be trouble.
I'm not saying
you better
you're wrong.
win that Toledo game.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but we know nothing about this team. They spent money. In the old years of recruiting, you worried, did you recruit players? Now, the great thing about big money players leaving is you get to spend that money on other players now. It's just not as big of names, but might be better names. You're getting them from these smaller schools and filled a lot of needs. Maybe that balance and just team chemistry makes us into one of those older type Mark Stoops, hard-nosed teams that we try to get back to. For years, he's tried to create a high-powered offense, and I just don't think that's what his teams are.
You lose in week 1 to Toledo, fans are done.
I don't worry about fans. I worry about what is.
Yeah, you better worry about the fans. They need to fill the stadium. We got a game 2 against Ole Miss.
If you win, they come back.
If we lose to Toledo,
they come back. If you start winning, they come back. That's fans. That's in any place.
Yeah, but my point is, you lose to Toledo in week 1. You have a week 2 game at home against Ole Miss that you need to win, and if half of the stadium is empty, that matters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong.
That matters.
They're going to be there.
We need the stadium to be full.
They'll stay for
Ole Miss.
They'll stay there for a half. If things are going good, they'll stay. If they don't, they'll leave. They'll go to the game just for the event.
We squeak out a win in week 1 against Toledo, and then say we get blown out by Ole Miss. I think it's another situation where fans might check out.
It just depends how everything looks. I'm not saying.
So I almost think your first couple weeks of the season are going to determine how the fans look at the rest.
Look, if he don't have a successful season, it's done. I mean, it's time to go.
All right, because later in the season, you've got home games against Texas, which, look, I don't expect to win that game, But home game against Tennessee, home game against Florida. These are all middle to second half of the schedule. But you want those games to be full. You don't want don't want our fans to be checked out by October 18th. We got a Florida and a Tennessee at home. We need the fans.
I'm not saying that, but
they could very well be checked out by October 25th.
I'm not saying they aren't, but that don't mean the team will be checked out. I'm with you. It helps.
The team might check out too.
Yeah,
we saw it last year.
But
our players were at the damn concession stands getting nachos in the middle of the game. Were we at that game?
Yeah.
Did we not see that guy at the?
I think we did.
I think we did, dude.
I think we did.
I was thinking about that the other day. Did we not see that guy at the fucking concession stand? Am I dreaming that?
I think we did.
I swear, I think we were out there, like, had just got food and was standing there. I'm pretty sure we seen that guy.
We did, but I'm going to tell you.
At the concession stand getting his hot dog.
I think Stoops.
In his uniform in the middle of the game.
In this last year, that make it or break it, I think in his mindset, he thought, I'm not going down like this. If I go down, that's fine, but I'm going to get back to what I know and what I do. They spent money, dude. There's going to be players there. Now, that might be bad money spent, so he'll be judged on that. But it ain't like they just – in the old years of recruiting, you're like, okay, well, I don't have no horses in the barn. They paid money. I mean, so there's horses in the barn. Hopefully he did a good job of scouting people and pulling those guys up. Indiana came out of nowhere last year with that kind of angle. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if the Kentucky fan in me, I'm going to try to stay on the positive side. If he starts to have a bad year, I'll tell people it's time to change. I thought before it was too premature, but I think he gets this year. And we'll see where it goes with it. I'll be rooting for him.
Oh, dude, I'm just like I've said about Cal. I'm a Kentucky fan. I love Mark Stoops. I've said it since day one. I wanted Stoops when a lot of people wanted Bobby Petrino. I've been on the Stoops bandwagon since day one.
You just got a quicker trigger than I do. That's all. I don't think it's not bad with it. You just got a quicker trigger than
trigger than you do.
Yeah,
but I don't have a quicker trigger than 50% of our fans.
Charlie, there's some people that I don't care who we're talking about. They're ready to fire him on year one or year two.
Like I said, I was out on Cal. I don't hate Cal, but I was out on Cal after Oakland. But I didn't give up on him after St. Peter's or Kansas State. It did take me three years, and a lot of people were. So, yeah, I might have a quicker trigger than you do, but not than a lot of Kentucky fans. Kentucky fans are –
we talked about this earlier before.
But I don't think this is a quick trigger on Stoops anymore. It's been – a few years now, man. These guys, and I just think it doesn't set up good. The Vince Marrow thing leaving, that's not just an assistant. That's his really good buddy, like really good buddies. It's a bad look. I think Vince saw the writing on the wall and said, let me get out of here before we go 3-9, and Louisville's probably playing in the bullshit ACC, going to go 9-3.
You probably have I know you have a greater than 50% chance of Stoops being back next year. So for Morrow, with his job kind of being less important in today's world, he probably thought, I better take that job while I got a chance to sign a new contract.
Fucking go anywhere but Louisville.
I agree.
Anywhere but Louisville. Brom was trying to get him when he coached at Purdue.
He's a con.
I'd have rather him went to Purdue.
I think
go to Louisville.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think one of the reasons why is, look, I think there was a day and time, and even Michigan went after him years ago, when that position was really important. I don't think that position. I know we argue about it, and so it's not a different argument, different day. But I just don't think recruiting is that important no more, dude. I don't.
I disagree with that.
I know we do.
For the top guys, yes, maybe. But for those middle guys, you're still going to have to sell yourself.
Yeah, you do. But I think
the argument I made earlier was, the guys where their offers aren't, the difference on the offers that they're getting aren't as big.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
You get 4 offers from 4 different schools.
They're all within 20.
And they're all within 20 grand. Then it's got to come down to something, whether it's location, tradition, the coach, the teammates you got, how much playing time you're going to get, whatever it is. I don't think it all just comes down to the money. I do think there's a quite a bit of still having to go in there and recruit, sell yourself to those guys. So I still think Vince Marrow is going to be an asset, but I hope he sucks at Louisville.
I remember a lot of years we were fighting some MAC schools for some players, and we'd get a few SEC type players. But I remember those years. I used to follow recruiting a whole lot. I feel like we don't even fight those schools no more because those schools can't afford to pay no money. So they don't even really have NIL. They just got to get whatever's left over. I still feel like Kentucky is in that group where you're paying for players. Even the mid-level players, I think you're paying for them.
I'd argue to say almost everybody on the roster is getting paid. So everybody's getting something, right?
I think there's some guys that maybe don't, but maybe Texas can afford to pay that position because they got deep. I'm just saying them.
I'd like to know that if anybody on Kentucky's football roster is not getting paid.
Yeah. Now I
tend to think everybody's getting something.
I seen a thing where they said it's percentages, money divvied out for NIL. In Georgia's is like 80% football, 15% basketball, and 5% other. And I heard some things from UK, UK 70-30. So UK is allocating a lot more money than a lot of people for basketball, and we don't even have as much NIL as some. So is that hurting us? I don't know. And we talked about that earlier. That's a tough spot for Mitch Barnhart to be in because when you're only on a limited budget and you got to allocate things, but you want to keep basketball going because it's such a big thing. But football is such the mega power in sports. But for UK, basketball is really big. I wouldn't want to be Mitch Barnhart because I've thought about that, and that's a tough position to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but to me, those 4 or 5 powerhouse basketball schools, Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, they have to continue that tradition. Like, they can't just not.
So do they lay their football program, like Duke or Kansas, there's times where they were kind of moving up. If they only have maybe NIL like us, do they spend all their money on basketball? Like
not all of it.
But bigger percentages compared to other schools?
I think they should. Those top schools definitely should. Kentucky should absolutely continue to make sure by any means necessary that our basketball team is at the top.
That's going to put your football at a big disadvantage, especially when you already have a lower budget. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm just saying, maybe that's right for UK, but that's the situation it's going to put you in.
And I don't mind that because when it comes to Kentucky football, we talked about this earlier. Dude, what it would take for Kentucky to become
money,
like viewed as a Tennessee or a Florida or money. Dare we say like a Michigan or an Alabama. Dude, money, you need money on top of money on top of money on top of money for years on top of years on top of years.
Football
wouldn't just happen in 2 or 3 years.
Oh, it would if you had the money. I know we disagree there, but if you have the money, essentially you can buy your team now. I think you can buy your team. I don't think tradition plays much. But I will say this. For UK, I get your argument with the basketball thing.
I just don't think Kentucky football is ever going to be. We might have one good year here or there.
Because basketball is cheaper. So the argument could be made, why not go ahead and pay something you can compete in money-wise? Because we really can't compete in the football money.
That's my argument.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
That's my argument.
I think it's fair.
We are a basketball school.
But how bad does that hurt football? And I know football's a big moneymaker. That's where I'm saying I wouldn't want to be Mitch. It's just a tough situation.
You can't hope that our football program becomes something that it isn't.
Sure, but you still want to make money with it.
At the same time, let our basketball school fall to something that we know. Like we're used to Kentucky, a top 5 program.
Yep.
Okay. Sometimes we have off years, but overall, Kentucky's a top 5 program. You can't reach for this thing over here and hope for this thing over here and then let this great thing that you have over here fall down.
But I agree with what you're saying. I really do. I think that's kind of where my mind is too with it. But how much of a moneymaker is football? You hear the giant, how much we make with football. I'm not even talking about from what's better for us as the fans. But
I feel like just being part of the SEC, though, with the profit sharing shit, you're getting it regardless.
I just don't know the numbers. But I'm with you. And I've thought about that. But how much, just from a pure business standpoint, does it make sense to spend on each one? And it gets complicated, and we don't know that stuff. So it's above our heads.
Yeah, and I think Kansas and Duke are very comparable in the sense that their football teams, it would take so much for them to become something on a national scale. Well, you can't let Kansas basketball fall because you're reaching for Kansas football to be something that it never has been before.
So it could go to what I think about maybe why Vince Marrow, another reason he could have took the job. But it's easier to be good in the Big 12. It's easier to be good in the ACC. There is no doubt about that.
Hell yeah, he's going from 4-8 to to 10-2, but
with the same level of
fucking
player.
cupcake schedule. Yeah, and their roster ain't going to be probably no better than Kentucky's. They're just the competition sucks.
I've said it. UK football might be the hardest job in America. I've thought about it, guys, with expectations versus money versus schedule. I think it is. I've thought about this a lot. I think it's the hardest job in the country. If you think about expectations versus NIL versus schedule, you could argue say Vandy, but their expectations aren't as high.
No, their expectations are not as high. Our fans,
Nuts.
Our fans, as much as we are a basketball school,
they think like that. Yes.
I mean, we're supposed to be 10-2 every year in football. We ain't never been 10-2. Dude. Why do we expect it every year? This is what kind of goes back to what my point is.
There's 30 to 40%.
You can't expect us to be what we're not.
There are 30-40% of fans that believe that. There really is. I think they're idiots.
You might get that one year. And that's cool. Well, and we went to the Citrus Bowl.
Well, you can build
the
it
Peach
up.
Bowl,
There's been teams that do it.
You have it every once in a while.
There's been teams that have done it. Like that was always my dream because I love UK football. But in today's world, now we're not going to do this because we don't got that kind of money. But I do think you can buy it in today's world. But we don't have that kind of money, so that's scrap.
Yeah. So, fuck Vince Marrow.
No doubt.
That was some news I was not expecting. A couple hours ago,
me neither, but if you really paid attention to the years, it makes sense that he's jumping ship. He's Stoops probably got a 35-40% chance of being back next year.
Stoops is fucking fuming right now, dude. You know how red his face gets and shit? His face is blood red right now, dude.
2
hours later,
I think his real friend's the dude that went to Alabama and came back. I've heard that they're the ones that are real tight.
They just gave him a raise.
I've heard they're
after
tight.
they said numbers wise was like the worst offensive line we've ever had under Stoops, then they gave him a raise.
But he came into
damn right that's Stoops, buddy.
But he came into a bad situation. We'll see how it goes. I do like Stoops has made. I've seen him consistently try to make changes, whether they're good or bad. I see him. Some coaches just stay with the same stuff. I've seen Stoops try to change his ways. And so maybe this is just a different way of doing it. And it might not work. And play the odds or it won't. But I like that he's trying something different. I tell my son that all the time. If something don't work, let's try something else. Let's don't keep doing the same thing.
I just don't know there's any way Kentucky can get through this schedule and get more than maybe 5 wins. Maybe. I feel like I'm stretching to try to get to 5.
Crazy things happen, though.
To get to 5, we're going to have to be.
We're going to have a good team, bottom line.
Of course, you got to win this Toledo game, which everybody's been talking about. This Toledo team is picked to win that conference, and they're also saying that conference is fairly strong. So I don't know what to think about that game because I don't know about Toledo, but it does scare me how everybody's talking about that. So you got to hope you get that one, but you get that one, you get Eastern Michigan, and you get Tennessee Tech. Those are 3 gimmies, okay? So you got 3. But then you're at Vandy. You know we always struggle with Vandy. We don't get them at home. We got them on the road. So you got to get that one. That's just to get to 4. To get to 5, you have to beat either Ole Miss at home,
wins.
South Carolina on the road. You're not beating Texas. You're not beating Georgia. You're probably not beating Tennessee. So you're looking at maybe trying to win a game at Auburn or a home game against Florida, or you got to beat Louisville.
I know nothing about it. I can't go I can't go ahead and count wins this early because I don't know nothing about our team. I wish I did know more about our team because I wish
it don't matter. We know historically what these teams are.
Sure, but
we know what a game against at Georgia is going to be like. We know what Texas at Kentucky is going to be like.
Stoops just comes up with some really good teams that I think would keep his job this coming up year.
But realistically, how many wins can you get out of those tough games?
I don't even think it comes down to
one or two. It's maybe
wins matter, but are things good? The fans, Barnhart ain't gonna make his decision.
Barnhart has never been one to make decisions off of the fans. He's not going to do that.
But Barnhart, it's not even the fans, but the fans, if things are going good, good don't mean that we got to win.
Things ain't been going good the last few years, and Barnhart knows that. He can't keep going too many more years.
It just comes down to if we're good or not. If you're good,
you have to win some games.
I agree, but you'll see it on the field that if we're good, we catch some breaks, we'll win some games. And I agree, the odds are probably against him.
They're definitely against him.
But I don't think they're just crazy overwhelming when we spent money. It's just a different angle.
I don't see where the wins are coming from.
I don't even know about all those teams.
Man, we know what they are, Anthony. We know what.
Charlie, you can put together good teams too. We have every right to put together good teams within our budget as they do. You're not going to recognize a lot of our team.
I know we're not, but it's still going to be Kentucky against Tennessee. It's still going to be Kentucky against Georgia. I don't care about the money, dude. It's still Kentucky's and Georgia. We know what that matchup is.
Names mean nothing, dude. Names mean
Yeah,
nothing.
it does. Nothing's changed. Georgia's still way better than us.
Well, they got more money to spend.
Tennessee's still way better than us. Auburn,
but
still better than us.
So you're going to see a lot of new faces, and we spent X amount of dollars. What about if he hits on a lot of the guys that he spent money on? That's what it comes down to every year for everybody now. What about if he hits on a lot of these guys and we come out with a really nice team? I'm not saying the probability of that happening is very high, but I think he's got a puncher's chance with it.
There's a better chance that we have a better roster than there is of us having a better roster and still getting up some wins. We've had good rosters before, and these games are still always they are.
I know, but some of these seasons that we've had, not maybe the last couple, but that we've had under Stoops, I think keeps his job.
The last 2 or 3 have been shit.
Sure, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I think there's seasons. He's been here a long time, but I think there's seasons.
But you can't keep going off. It's the same thing with Cal. You can't keep going off what happened 8 years ago.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying this season right here we got coming. There's seasons that if he can come up with a team like he had before, one of those teams, and we have those kind of years, I think that saves his job. I do.
How many wins does it take to save his job?
I don't know if there's an exact number of wins. It's a feel thing.
Is there any possible way we go 4-8 and Stoops keeps his job?
No way.
Can we go 5-7?
He needs 6.
Got to go 6-6.
Yeah,
all right, I agree with that. So there is a number 6-6
with good energy. 6-6.
Oh, you better have good energy because the energy has not been good the last year.
In the stadium, it was good, but not at the very end. The players, it wasn't.
When you got players going to the concession stand in the middle of the game,
I'm gonna tell you what,
almost unheard
I
of.
paid $100-something for crap bandy tickets, and the place was sold out rocking, and that was towards the end of the year.
You're going to have to 6 wins. I kind of agree is probably the number, and I still think if you go 6-6, still is probably on the borderline.
It's where the vibes are.
I still think it's a 50-50.
It's where the vibe at that point. It's where the vibes are.
If he could go 7-5, then he saves his job.
But
7-5 is going to require wins of Ole Miss, South Carolina, maybe a Tennessee, maybe a Florida, maybe a Louisville. Like, those are not easy wins. And not just one of them. You're going to have to get like 3 of them.
But that don't mean you can't win one of those games you're not supposed to win either, or 2 of those.
Yeah, win one, but they're going to have to win like 3 of them.
You don't got to win that many to get 6 wins.
Yeah, they do. They got 3 gimmies. And they got Vandy. So they'd have to at least win 2 of those games.
Okay, so you got 3 gimmies. You got Vandy and Louisville. What's that put us at 5?
Louisville beat us by fucking 40
last year. They're going to have a whole new team. They got to do NIL too.
And it's at Louisville.
And hopefully they might not hit on their NIL this year. It's all about if you hit on those guys.
Dude, they crushed us last year.
I
hope we beat them.
That's
but
fine.
I'm just saying,
okay.
Murray State home run? He did. Murray State just took the lead in the 7th or 8th inning. That's what I'm talking about.
Is that game 1?
That's
game 1. Right?
No, this is game 3. This is it.
Let's
this
go.
is it. They just hit a solo in the top of the 8th. They're up 4-3 against Duke. Yeah, I just think Kentucky's got to get some wins, man.
They do. There's
no
doubt.
His job,
There's no
dude.
doubt.
And
There's no doubt.
I hope it happens. I'm a Kentucky fan. I love Mark Stoops, but
I'll tell you where
I love Calipari, but I'm a Kentucky fan over any of that.
I'll tell you.
I'll have my shit on. I'll buy in. In week 1, we better beat Toledo, and in week 2, I'll be all in on beating Ole Miss. I will.
I'll tell you where I think we are after week 2. I'll tell you exactly where I think Stoops is and where we are after week 2. I would even like to maybe see some practices. You know, I know they're going to have some stuff building up to it. I want to start learning about our team because I don't know a lot about it. And I know a lot about UK football, but this NIL, and I've heard other teams talk about this on other message boards, it's like you can't only keep up with your teams. You almost got to hit every year on the NIL because you're like re-signing your team every year. You hit some years, like when Braun first got here, he didn't hit that first year. And then he hit last year. Do you hit on these guys? It's kind of crazy. It's like the Wayne Dale year. We hit on that year. Are your contracts good? Like, we freed up some money getting rid of Key and Barryon Brown and Walker, Vandergrift. Them were some big money guys. So now that money's getting spent somewhere else. Hopefully we hit on those guys.
I'll tell you my early prediction for after game 2. I say Kentucky, game 1, squeaks out a win against Toledo by like
How do you know
8.
that? Yeah.
I don't know that. It's a prediction.
Yeah, but we don't even know the team.
So
yet.
what? I'm
Okay.
making a prediction.
Okay. All right.
I don't give a shit. I'm just making a prediction.
I got you.
Kentucky squeaks out a win. They get a win by about 8 points, 7 or 8 points, like 20-13 or some shit. That seems like exactly what would happen in game 1 for Kentucky. Hopefully we win, but I bet they squeak it out, and then they probably get beat by Ole Miss by maybe like 20.
Well, I know nothing about this team. I know very little. So many new faces. I'll tell you more when I know more about it.
Anthony's so scared to make a prediction.
No, I'm not, but I can't make it like I don't.
So what? I don't know none either.
College football.
I didn't know anything about the super regionals,
Yeah.
but we made picks on it.
But college football's, and I'll tell you, I don't know nothing about it.
Yeah,
but I don't want
know.
to put my name behind something that I don't really know a lot about.
What he don't want to do, he don't want to say that Kentucky's going to lose to Ole Miss is what he wants.
No,
he
I'm
wants to say
not.
we're going to be 2-0.
No, dude, I think there's a chance we could have a good team. I do. I don't know nothing
I think
about
there's a
it.
better chance that we got a bad team this year.
Why do you
and
say
a
that?
tough
though?
schedule.
Why do you say that? You don't know.
Then because why would
Why would we spend money? I'm not saying we
why
will.
would Vince bail?
Because
if he thought we had a good team.
Because I think there's a 50% chance or a little more that he don't have a job next year and he got a chance to take a job.
Damn right.
Yeah, and that's fine.
He's
but
been offered jobs every year
I know,
for the past like 6
but
years.
things are
He could get
changing.
one next year
But
too.
things are changing on the college football landscape. It's his job is not as important no more. It's just not. Whether you think there's recruiting left, that's fine. But it's nowhere near as important recruiting as it used to be. We can agree with that, I think. Even if you think it's important, it's nowhere near what it was. Recruiting used to be the lifeblood of a program.
Anthony thinks the money done took everything out of the sport.
I do.
Recruiting doesn't matter. Tradition doesn't
Lane-
matter.
Lane-
The coach doesn't matter.
Tradition means
Nothing
shit.
matters.
Tradition means shit.
Yeah, right.
It don't. Lane Kiffin said it best. He said it's not a recruiting war no more. It's a bidding war. That's what's going on across the country right now, dude. Everything you're
Again,
reading.
when the money is a big difference, yes. But if your money is not different and you can go
But
play
my-
football at Kentucky or you can go play football at Alabama for the same amount of money,
No, you're absolutely right.
where are they going?
You're absolutely right.
Where are they going? They're going to Alabama.
No
Why?
doubt.
Because of tradition.
No doubt.
Because of the name. So you can't say it doesn't mean anything.
Not unless there's playing time,
It
but
doesn't mean
they will-
anything to a guy
they
that's
will
getting
pay-
offered an extra $1 million
They will pay
from
what
another
they
team.
need. They will pay according to what their needs are. And the amounts
I
won't be the
know,
same. The
and
amounts
the
will
t-
be different.
And the top guys are going to have big discrepancies in their offers.
Yes.
But when you're talking about a mid-level guy that's only getting offered, say, $120,000,
I don't think the offers are going to be close. I think they're still going to be different, even though they're not as large as sums. You might have one that's 90, one that's 160. I think they're going to take the 160. It depends.
That's a big difference, though. But when we're 90 and 160, that's a big difference. It's almost 100% difference.
I think there is differences like that. I think that's what you see a lot. I don't
so
know
what
that.
you're saying is there's not any of the cases where
There is some. No,
yeah,
some.
it
There's
is.
some.
And then the decision can't just be about money. It's got to be about location,
Well, how bad-
tradition.
well, how bad-
Will the coach get you to the pros?
Sure.
How much playing time will I get? Whatever it is.
I think money.
But tradition isn't just down the drain because money.
I think it matters very.
And recruiting is not just down the drain because of money
I
either.
think tradition and recruiting is maybe 20 or 30% of what it used to be.
And that might be right, but it's not zero like you've been arguing for
No,
weeks.
I'm not saying it's zero, but it means very little, I think, to people anymore. I think it's about the dollar now. There's some other little factors, but I think these kids are looking at it as, I get the pros or not. My time to make money's now.
Tradition will never be dead unless you tell me that a kid that's getting offered the same amount of money would rather go to Rutgers and play basketball than go to Kentucky.
No, but I think
it's not going to happen.
I think
tradition matters, and it always will.
I think things are changing on that.
They might be changing, but it still matters.
There's a
It matters to play at Kentucky.
I think-
It matters to play at Alabama football. That shit matters, and
I
it
do
always
not
will.
think it matters
It
those kids
matters to
much
go
more.
play for Michigan football or Duke basketball. That matters, and it always will matter.
I don't think the tradition does. I think filling the stands does, and the atmosphere does. I don't think tradition means shit to these young kids, dude. I just don't.
They might not care about, like, when we say tradition, what we talk about, like how good they were in the past. I'm not talking about that. Tradition also is that stadium going to be packed every time? Sure. Yeah, of course it is, because you're going to Michigan. Of course they're going to pack them stadium. So you want to go to Michigan and play in front of 100,000 fans, or you want to go to Rutgers and when you're 3-7, you got nobody in the fucking stands.
Show me the money.
Yeah, if Rutgers is going to pay me an extra $2 million, I'll go to that shit
school. If
it's $20,000, dude, I'm going to Michigan.
Sure, but I think schools pay different amounts based on their needs. I do. If you don't need that position, you don't overpay for that position. If that's a position where you're short on, you might have to overpay on that position.
Yeah, we can argue about that all day.
Yeah. I don't even know if
I don't think tradition will ever go anywhere,
I
don't think it'll ever go anywhere.
I wish I knew more. I don't think it's a finished deal. I hate it, dude.
Murray State just scored again, 5-3.
Charlie, I truly hate it. I want you to know it's not that I like it. I hate it, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself, and that's the truth.
It is what it is. It ain't going nowhere.
That's right.
Maybe it does. We can hate it all we want.
It can it can hurt the sport, though. I'm gonna tell you, I think it's starting to hurt the sport a little bit, and I think in the long run we better be careful.
Let's go look at the college football ratings and see if it was
I'm just telling you, I feel the vibe. People talking. I'm telling you, dude. I just know as a UK fan.
The message boards ain't telling you shit. Look at the ratings for the college football.
Yeah,
the message boards don't mean nothing.
I'm not talking about the message boards. I'm just talking about the vibe. It could hurt it long term. I think it is starting to hurt it long term.
You know why it won't hurt it? Tradition.
Sure, but
tradition
is holding it up right now. And they will keep
because
it going.
Michigan fans are always going to be Michigan fans.
I know, but
Kentucky basketball fans will always be Kentucky basketball fans.
What made college football so special was everything around. But look, I'm not saying it will.
You really think there's anything that you could do to get Michigan fans not to go pack that stadium?
No, but that would be harder to break. That could be harder to break, but I think slowly over time it could hurt the sport.
Football's so big.
It is big. It is big.
It's one of them things where it's like we got to just stop bitching about it because it's here to stay, and it's just going to be what it is for forever.
Maybe a salary cap. Maybe something we could.
Oh, they definitely got to do something. We've talked about
a salary cap would change the game.
You got to do something.
Change the game, in my opinion.
The only way they can do that, I guess, is if they make them employees, which they haven't done.
Is that
yet.
what they said? Okay,
I think so. I think that's basically to have a salary cap. They have to be employees.
That's what they need. That's what they need. Or bring back the transfer rule again, which would slow. The transfers are killing it. New players every year is killing it. It just is.
Yeah. So Vince Marrow again.
Vince who?
Fucking.
Dude, he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Go take your fucking Yahtzee balls and shove them up your ass.
Yeah. Take your 3 stars over to Louisville.
Vince, your bag don't do shit now. Everybody got to bag. They don't got bags no more. They got checks.
And you see that he's not even a coach over there. That he's the player.
Brom's smart. He ain't bringing him
player operations, head of player operations. He's ultimately the GM.
He wasn't coaching. He knew his days were over as a recruiter. He said, they're going to let me be a GM. Louisville did that shit just to piss us off.
They said him and Brom are actually really good buddies too. Yeah. So I guess
I'm not even sure if the relationship between him and Stoops is close. They were definitely close. I'm not saying
they were boys.
They were close, but I think some of that was sewed up too. I went along with it because
he was with them for a long time.
It was.
Dude. I feel like there was a lot of loyalty there to stay. He's had multiple years that he could have had other jobs, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
He got offered a Michigan position a couple years ago that he probably should have jumped on.
Fuck him.
I know, but I do think him and Stoops were buddies. Dude, and I do think Stoops' face is fucking blood red right now. I really do.
He probably gets
And I love you, Stoops, but you're going to have to find a way to get 6 to 7 to wins, or you're going to be finding another job.
He knows that. He knows that.
I hate it for him because I'm a huge Stoops fan.
It's time. It's time if he don't win. It's time. It's time. I have a point where it's time, but I just don't want to be the quick trigger guy that makes the wrong decision.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Find some wins. I don't know where they're going to come, but I will be bought in. Give me about a month or so, and I will be all the way in like I am every single year. And I'll be supporting them. I'll be watching every game and try to make it to some. Hopefully, I'll be on board. I talk my shit, Anthony, but I'm a Kentucky fan all through and through. And I'll be supporting them.
I'm anxious to see. I honestly am. No bullshit. I'm so anxious to see what kind of team we got. I'm lost on it.
I don't even know our quarterback. What's the quarterback's name?
Kozowski, and then we still got your boy.
Kozowski.
We still got your boy. You know our real names.
I think it's got. What's his first name? Zach.
He was an Auburn.
Zach or
he was
Nick?
He was an Auburn commit like 3 years ago. Got hurt, went through the JUCO thing, but
He's
he was
like 27.
Yeah,
years
but
old.
he was a big recruit, but he got hurt. There's an angle there.
He was born in like 83.
That's all right.
I think he's the old. I think I heard that he's the oldest quarterback in the country.
That's all right. He still ain't 30, so that's all right.
He's like 26 years
He's had some crazy stuff go on.
But they did say that he played that year at Auburn and got a couple starts and actually
he was a
played pretty good
size recruit.
Yeah, but then he went to
and he did really well at the JUCO.
He was at like Holy Cross, or it wasn't Holy Cross.
Charlie,
it was something even more obscure than that. It was like, what was the school he went to?
I don't know.
Last year. Do you know it?
Something crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But
it's some kind of Christian
But he
school
threw
or
up huge numbers. But we're going to see. Everything I've read about him, they brought him in. You know, you had the freshman boy last year. They still think a lot of him. They're keeping him around. They're giving him one more year.
The dude's digging in his nose. Oh, camera just caught the Duke fan digging in his nose.
You can't get your ass kicked. You can't dig in your nose.
No.
You can't do nothing
You
no
can't
more.
get away with nothing,
dude. That's miserable. I told my son, he said, well, there's a fight on the internet. I said, dude, how wrong is that, Rex? You know, you're fighting. You want the kids to fight to be tough again. But if they get whooped, it's all over the internet.
Yeah,
that's BS.
That does suck.
Look, dude, if
it never goes away.
If me and you decide to get in a fight out on the street, we didn't know each other, I'll get my ass whooped, dude. I don't want it all over the internet.
It'd be everywhere.
Stupid.
I got in fist fights when I was a kid. There was never a camera, never a phone. Usually wasn't even very many people around.
You wanted it to go, when you got whooped, you wanted it to kind of go away. Dude.
Oh yeah, but dude, I've told you before. It was mainly my buddies.
Yeah,
like not my best of friends, but like
I know
kids that I hung out with here.
Same here,
dude. We fight each other, and I am not lying. The very next day, we'd be out playing football or basketball like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, no doubt.
We didn't try to jump each other. I didn't try to get my other buddies and go fight him again or pull any kind of weapons or anything.
Didn't try to hit him while he was knocked out on the...
No, we fought a couple times. I fought this one kid. He lived like 3 houses down from me. I probably fought him like 4 times, and we were buddies. Dude. We get mad at each other. Get to a basketball game would get too intense, and we'd end up punching each other a couple times.
Usually, it's people that are like that. That's
and it wasn't nothing crazy. It wasn't like we beat the shit out of each other, but we punched each other in the face a couple times, and then we'd go our separate ways and be pissed off for about 24 hours, and the next day we would be playing again.
You know who I hate, or what I hate, is when I see these fights and they got somebody knocked out on the concrete and they take 4 or 5 big shots at them.
That's the worst.
Dude, that's trash.
And you're going to end up in jail for murder for the rest of your life because you're going to end up accidentally killing somebody.
That ain't accidentally. You did that on purpose.
Well, I'm probably not trying to kill him, but
maybe if you get one punch in because your momentum's going. But, man, they can see they're knocked out. And they sitting there taking shots at them. People got, come on, dude. That's an animal.
You end up in jail. All right, well, we went a little long, but that was kind of the breaking news there. But look, maybe it ends up,
you just gotta wait.
Maybe Vince Marrow goes to Louisville and just sucks and
maybe we have an awesome year. Maybe we have an awesome year.
Hold on. I just figured it out. He's a plant, isn't he?
I guess.
They did that shit on purpose, didn't they?
Yeah.
Stoops did have something to do with this.
I know.
At first, I thought
we always sent Kenny Payne their way. So
at first, I thought, see, it all comes together.
I remember they
took me about an hour, but it all comes together. He's a plant. He's gonna take them all the shit recruits that we don't want, and they'll end up at Louisville. I like that angle.
The Kenny Payne.
How did it take us this long?
They did it with Kenny Payne.
I know. We did it with Kenny Payne. Now we're doing it with Vince Marrow.
I love it.
That'd be great. So hopefully he just fucking sucks at Louisville.
Louisville's chess players. They're checker players. We are chess players.
I love that angle. I can't believe it took me that long to figure it out. All right, and you want to put off this wrestling until next week?
I think so. We've had a good little show here.
Let's put it off until next week. We'll come back with something good on the wrestling next week. I guess we might have an NBA champion by next week, and I don't know the schedule to this. Real quick, Anthony, let's look at this real quick. So here was our picks on the Super Regionals. We both had Miami beating Louisville. Louisville did advance. You had Oregon State. I had Florida State. Oregon State won that. You had North Carolina. I had Arizona. The unranked Arizona Wildcats beat North Carolina. I had Coastal. I think I might have picked Coastal to win it all. I can't remember. I had to go back and listen because I didn't write it down.
I must have picked Auburn because I like Coastal. I'm glad they won it.
Yeah, you picked Auburn. Coastal swept them 2-0. We both picked an upset for UTSA. They got beat by UCLA, but UTSA was unranked too. We both got Murray. Murray just took a 2-run lead in the 8th.
Let's go.
Looking good. Could be the biggest underdog to ever make the College World Series.
You know they don't got no NIL money.
No, they don't. And they're looking good right here to take down Duke and be that final 8th team to go to Omaha. That would be pretty cool.
That would. I would root for them like hardcore.
I would too. LSU won. We both had LSU, and then you had Tennessee. I couldn't pick Tennessee. I picked Arkansas, and Tennessee is out. I always love to see Tennessee out. Your girl, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
They rode her.
I told you they ride
You
them.
said they was going to ride her. They rode her 3 games in a row, and I think it caught up in that 3rd game, didn't it?
No, don't catch up. They just get her.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Well, I mean, you see her 3 games in a row, you're going to catch up at some point.
Yeah, that's how it happens in college softball. That was their horse. That's how they got there. That's how the girl she was the first $1 million NIL in college softball, and accordingly, it's a Texas team, of course, big money, and they rode her. She was part of the Sluggers organization. Texas was probably the likely favorite, but they had a big pitcher. So I actually know a girl that committed to Texas next year. Pretty big time player. I think she's like a top 10 player in the country. And she's big time. She played for us a few times. Very talented girl. She committed to UT there. So I'll be rooting them on next year.
It went to 3 games though, but yeah, from what I heard, it kind of caught up, with the pitched her all 3 games.
Softball.
I mean, did the Texas pitcher did they pitch the same pitcher too? All 3 games?
It's pretty common. It's pretty common. Remember Montana
That's
Fowles
wild,
from
dude.
Kentucky that played at Alabama? I don't know if you remember that name a few years back. She was a big pitcher. She was from Kentucky high school. She went to Alabama. She was their stud. It's really common in college. That's their horse. I mean, I get it. You see
but 3 games in a row
but
against the same team? That is wild.
When you're that much better than your backup.
I guess, but man, you can't find at least a serviceable second pitcher.
It's just different. I get what you're saying because we know that matters. But if you're that much
different,
if you're that much better, like if you got just a super stud, that's how they got there. That's their super stud.
We talk about it when we're just doing our pitching and we play the same team.
A lot of it
from a week before, we try to go with a different pitcher.
Yeah, but a lot of it in softball.
Try to show them something different.
So in softball, the reaction times, I'm telling you, it's shorter than baseball. It is. It's the mounds are closer. I told you the 112-mile-an-hour fastball it's equivalent to. So if you got somebody that's really throwing hard, it's hard to make your decision that quick. So if you got somebody who can really, really hum it, I told you they'd ride her.
And they rode her all right.
I coached girls softball travel ball for 6 years. And I'm telling you, you can go win a championship with one pitcher. It's nice to have that second one just in case, but you can go win a championship. I've seen teams not, Charlie, so pitching you know how much it means. And when you have a freak of a pitcher, I've seen teams not even have good teams, but have a freak for a pitcher and win championships that way because they can't hit this girl.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But it is a very fun game to watch. A lot of small ball. The bases, everything's 60 feet. It's very compressed. The speed of the game is crazy.
I was just going to say, I was going to assume that Murray was going to win. Duke just hit a home run. It's only a solo, so Murray State is still up 5-4 here in the bottom of the 8th. But I'm going to assume, actually, you can assume whatever you want.
No, don't do
I'm going to assume Murray wins. I'm taking Coastal to win it all. I don't know if I said that last week or not, but I'm going to say it right now.
Big City.
Give me Coastal. You're going Arkansas to win it all?
Big City.
Uh-oh. He loves Cal.
How dare
He'll find any reason. He'll find
baby.
any reason to cheer for Arkansas baseball. He loves Calipari.
Honestly, I always kind of liked Arkansas, even before that.
Only person I like from Arkansas was Scotty Thurman. Remember Scotty Thurman?
That was our big rival.
Yeah.
That was our
kind of.
No, it
just
was
for a couple years.
Yeah, in those years.
Yeah,
that
just
was
for
our
2 or
big
3
rival.
years there. Yeah,
40 minutes of hell.
Yeah,
Nolan Richardson.
Yeah. Scotty Thurman was the guy I liked. He was the sharpshooter that they had that year.
They were good.
They were good. All right, that's about all I got, Anthony. You got anything else?
That'll be it, guys. Thanks as always for listening to Blitz the Bookie podcast.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week, but we are going to be off for at least 1 week after that. We will be in Myrtle Beach here in 2 weeks. So unless we're taking these wireless mics and doing one on the beach one night, which maybe, who knows?
Charlie will get us to do one.
Who knows? Maybe we will. We'll just do one on the beach, drinking some margaritas or something. But we'll be off the week of Myrtle Beach. We got a lot of baseball and stuff going on, vacation. So next week will be our last one for at least 1 week. I don't know. I might try to put together like a best of. Go back and try to listen to some of your messed up names that you got, and wonder how many you got. 42,
Dude, I kill
42 episodes. Wonder how many messed up names you already got.
I was in speech class for most people did speech for 2 years. I think I was in speech to high school. But I'm not.
Your speech ain't that bad, but when it comes to names, boy, you butcher the names.
I'm going to tell you this. So listen, wait. You always hear people say they hear the music, they don't hear the music. They hear the words, they hear the music. I don't focus in on words. I hear the rhythm. I hear the music. I don't hear the names. I hear the rhythm. I'm serious. All jokes aside.
That might be part of the best of. If I can search out all of Anthony's messed up names, I might make a little compilation of that. All right, guys. We'll catch y'all next week. Blitz the Bookie.
See ya.
Charlie got the mic, he's dropping facts all day. Anthony's like, nah, I got the better parlay. Argue about the spread, it's a fierce debate. But when it comes to Wildcats, they align their fate. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums. Hustle deals on the line. Charlie Scassy's gonna make you shine. Anthony's heart where the numbers combine. Put your cash down, ride the incline. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums. From the tip off to the final play, they grind. Mike's on fire, bets on their minds. Arguing odds till the last rewind. Blue and white, it's a bond you'll find.